My name is Kesha Wilson, and I am 32 years old, and my family just destroyed itself. Let me tell you how that destruction began. Not with a bomb, but with a simple, stupid party. It happened at my brother Jamal's welcome home party. The party was hell, or at least the Atlanta suburb version of it. I had just flown in from an AI ethics conference in San Francisco. I was still in my gray charcoal business suit, my mind still buzzing with algorithms and data models. I walked into my childhood home, and the smell of my mom's honey-fried chicken hit me. But it didn't feel like home. The house was packed for my brother Jamal's welcome home party. He's 30 years old and just returned from, well, they called it a business research trip to Bali. I knew exactly who paid for that trip. Me. The first person to greet me, unfortunately, was Ashley, Jamal's wife. Ashley is a piece of work. She's white, and ever since she married Jamal, she acts like she's the CEO of our black family's culture. She spotted me, and her eyes, dripping with fake sweetness, scanned my suit. "Kesha, honey, you made it," she chimed, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Oh, you're still in your work clothes. The party started an hour ago. Everyone's out back. You must be so tired from, well, whatever it is you do with those computers." I forced a smile. "The AI summit ran long, Ashley. I'm just glad I made it back in time." "AI?" she repeated, drawing the word out like it tasted funny. "Sounds so complicated. Well, anyway, hurry up. Jamal is about to announce his big news." Her dismissal was a familiar sting. In this family, my career as a senior data scientist was just a confusing, nerdy hobby. It wasn't real like Jamal's endless string of failed startups. I was the black sheep, the boring one, the one who just happened to quietly pay for everything. Jamal was the golden child, the visionary, the one who racked up the bills. I followed Ashley through the sliding glass door onto the patio. Aunts, uncles, and family friends were all gathered, laughing and balancing paper plates. My father, Marcus, was stationed at the grill flipping burgers with a proud look on his face, while my mother, Sharon, directed traffic around the potato salad. Jamal stood on the raised deck tapping a glass with a fork to get everyone's attention. "Everybody, can I get your attention?" he shouted, his voice booming with unearned confidence. Ashley rushed to his side, looking up at him like he was giving the Sermon on the Mount. "Thank you all for coming." Jamal spread his arms wide. "As you know, Ashley and I just got back from an incredible research trip, and we have found the next big thing." I instinctively stepped back, finding a spot near the hibiscus bushes. I knew exactly what was coming. This was the Jamal show, and it always ended with the same finale, passing the hat. "We are launching a high-end NFT art gallery," he announced. "We're going to combine our powerful heritage with the purblind technology of the future. We're talking digital art, blockchain, and a celebration of our culture. It's revolutionary, and we are going to be at the forefront." My father let out a loud amen and applauded. "That's my boy, always ahead of the curve." My mother, Sharon, clasped her hands over her heart. "Oh, Jamal, baby, that sounds so important. I'm just so proud of you. What do you need to make it happen, son?" Jamal's smile widened. He had them. "Well, that's the exciting part, Mama. To secure the premium gallery space and sign our exclusive artists, we just need a little seed investment. Nothing major. Just $50,000 to get it off the ground." The air went still. $50,000. Even for this crowd, that was real money. Then, as if pulled by a single string, every head in the backyard turned and looked directly at me. I felt the spotlight hit me, hot and unwelcome. I was the one with the computer job, the one who didn't have kids, the one who, in their minds, had disposable income. My father was the first to speak, breaking the silence. He pointed his spatula at me, his voice casual, too casual. "Well, now Kesha, honey, sounds like that big conference of yours went well. I bet that tech company is paying you good money, isn't it?" The trap was set. I took a deep, steadying breath, the kind you take before you walk into a final exam, or apparently, before you tell your entire family no. I could feel my father's expectant gaze, my mother's demanding one, and Jamal's entitled smirk. "Jamal," I started, my voice much calmer than I felt. "I'm glad you're so passionate about this new project." "Right," he said, puffing out his chest. "It's a game changer, Kesh. You get in on the ground floor. $50K is nothing for where this is going." "I'm sure it is," I said, setting my untouched club soda on a side table. "But I'm afraid I won't be investing." The music from the speakers seemed to swell to fill the sudden dead silence. Jamal's smile froze, then twisted into confusion. What? What do you mean you won't? It's a guaranteed win. Is it guaranteed like your next-gen coin project was? I asked, still keeping my voice level. Because I invested $30,000 in that, Jamal, 2 years ago. The revolution in decentralized finance that was supposed to make us all rich. I still haven't seen a single dime of that back. Jamal's face started to flush. That's a long-term hold, Kesha. You don't understand the crypto market. And what about the luxury fashion line? I continued, turning to my parents. The one before that. The dropshipping empire that I funded. The one that was supposed to compete with Gucci. I'm still getting angry customer emails on the website I paid to build asking where their orders are. That was a supply chain issue. Jamal burst out, taking a step toward me. Those are just startup costs. That's research and development. You don't understand how business works. You have to be willing to take risks to make it big. He was shouting, now, drawing everyone's attention even closer. His arrogance was staggering. He wasn't embarrassed. He was angry that I had dared to question him. I looked at him, then at my father, then at my mother, who was already starting to scowl at me. I understand risk perfectly, Jamal, I said, my voice low and sharp, cutting through his bluster. But the pattern in this family seems to be that I am the one who takes all the financial risk, while you are the one who gets all the experience. A collective gasp went through the patio. Ashley looked at me like I had just slapped her. My father looked shocked, not at Jamal's failures, but at my audacity in listing them. And my mother's eyes narrowed into slits. The real explosion was yet to come. Kesha. Kesha. My mother's voice sliced through the stunned silence. She slammed her plastic cup down on a patio table, splashing sweet tea onto the glass. Her eyes, which moments ago were soft with adoration for Jamal, were now blazing with fury. She marched toward me, abandoning her post at the food table. "How dare you?" she hissed, jabbing a finger in my direction. "How dare you stand in your father's house and talk to your brother like that? He is trying to build something. He is trying to create a legacy for this family." "Build what, Mom?" I shot back, my own voice rising, my carefully constructed calm shattering. "He's draining me dry while he's building a legacy. I'm the one paying for it." "That business research trip to Bali?" I pulled out my phone, my hands shaking as I fumbled for the email. Here is the $5,000 credit card bill for the research, the flights, the hotel, the room service. It was sent to my email because it's my account, the account I gave him for emergencies. I shoved the phone screen toward her. "You're all standing here praising his vision while I'm the one secretly paying for his vacations," the crowd murmured. This was new information. Jamal's face turned a shade of purple-eyed, never seen before. That was a business expense, Kesha. You said you'd support me." "I said I'd support a business, Jamal, not a fantasy. I am not funding this NFT nonsense. I am not giving you another dime." "The answer," I said, my voice ringing out clearly across the silent yard, "is no." My mother looked stunned. It was a new expression for her. Sharon Wilson was never at a loss for words. She was the one who controlled every conversation, who dictated every family narrative. And I, the quiet, nerdy, dependable daughter, had just publicly defied her. She had expected me to fold, to write the check, to keep the peace. She had expected me to continue being their silent bank. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her eyes darted to my father, who was frozen at the grill, spatula in midair. You can't just say no to your family," she finally stammered. "I can," I said, "and I am. This stops. All of it. You stand here in my house," she started again, regaining her footing, her voice rising back to a screech. "You stand here eating my food and you disrespect your brother and your father." "Your house, Mom?" I asked. The words came out before I could stop them, cold and quiet. "Are you sure about that?" She looked confused. "What are you talking about?" "Of course, it's my house." I let the silence hang for a beat. I looked past her to my father, who had gone completely pale. He knew what was coming. "Funny," I said, my voice dangerously calm, "because I've been paying the mortgage on this house for the last 3 years, ever since Dad's business actually failed, and the bank was about to foreclose. The bank statements are in my name, Mom. The deed is in my name. You're not standing in your house. You're standing in mine." The secret hung in the air, thick and toxic. You could have heard a pin drop on the grass. Every guest, every aunt, every cousin was frozen. Their smiles from Jamal's announcement were gone. replaced with wide-eyed shock. Jamal and Ashley looked utterly baffled. But I wasn't watching them. I was watching my parents. My father, Marcus, went sheet white. He looked like he was going to be sick right there by the grill. He opened his mouth, but no sound came out. He knew it was true. He was the one who signed the papers. My mother, Sharon, however, was a different story. She stared at me for a long, terrible second. She wasn't processing the truth of what I'd said. She was processing the humiliation. I had just exposed her. I had just told a backyard full of her friends and family that she wasn't the matriarch of a successful household, but a tenant in her daughter's house. Her face, which had been confused, contorted into a mask of pure rage, the kind of rage that burns away all logic, all love, all reason. "You liar!" she seethed, the words low and dangerous. "How dare you?" "I'm not lying, Mom," I said, my voice shaking but holding firm. "Ask Dad. Ask him about the quitclaim deed. Ask him about the KIW family. Trust. Check the county records. It's all there." My father wouldn't look at her. He just stared at a half-cooked burger on the grill. That was all the confirmation she needed. The public humiliation was complete, and she snapped. "You ungrateful little," she screamed, taking a step toward me. "After everything we have done for you, we gave you life. We fed you. We paid for that education that made you so high and mighty. An education I paid for with my own scholarships," I countered. "You paid for nothing. I'm the one who paid for." "I don't care," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "I don't care what papers you think you have. I don't care what you think you paid for. This is my house. This is the home I made. This is my family, and I will not be humiliated like this by you. Not by the difficult, ungrateful, nerdy little girl you've always been." She was almost spitting, her face dark with fury. The guests were backing away, grabbing their children. "You waltz in here with your cold, dead eyes and your business suit, looking down on all of us. Looking down on your brother who has more heart and vision than you will ever know. Mom, that's not—" "Get out!" The scream was so loud it echoed off the houses next door. "Get out of my house! Mom, it's my house. I don't care. It's mine. It will always be mine. You will not take it from me. Get out! Get out and never come back!" The hatred in her voice was something I had never heard before. It was pure, unfiltered, and terrifying. It wasn't just anger, it was venom. It was the sound of a person who had been exposed and would rather destroy the evidence than admit the truth. She was pointing toward the street, her entire body shaking. "I mean it, Kesha. Get out, and don't you ever, ever come back." My head snapped toward my father. He was my last hope, my anchor. Surely he wouldn't let this happen. He always talked about logic, about reason. He knew the truth about the house. He had signed the papers. "Dad," I said, my voice barely a whisper. All the fight had gone out of me, replaced by a desperate, childish plea. "Dad, tell her." Marcus finally looked up from the grill. His face was a mask of pale, sweaty misery. He looked at me, then quickly looked away at his shoes. He shuffled his feet, cleared his throat, and scraped the burnt burger off the grill. "Kesha," he mumbled, still not meeting my eyes. You just shouldn't have made your mother so angry. You know how she gets." And just like that, the final piece of my world broke. It wasn't my mother's screaming that shattered me. It was my father's whisper. Her rage was a wildfire, hot and uncontrollable. His silence was a calculated choice. It was complicity. It was the final betrayal. He had made his decision. He would side with her, with the lie, with the golden child, rather than with me, his daughter, who had saved him from financial ruin. I was completely alone. I looked around the yard. The guests were pretending to be, fascinated by their paper plates. Jamal and Ashley were standing near my mother, flanking her, their expressions smug. They had won. They had successfully painted me as the villain, the ungrateful daughter, the troublemaker. A strange, cold calm washed over me. The tears stopped. My hands, which had been shaking, became perfectly still. There was nothing left to say. I looked at my father one last time at his cowardly profile as he refused to look at me. I looked at my mother, who was now breathing heavily, her face still flushed with victory. I turned around. I walked past the guests, my back straight, my head held high. I walked through the living room, past the family photos on the wall that felt like a lie. I opened the front door and stepped out into the humid Atlanta evening. I got into my car. My hands were steady as I put the key in the ignition. As the engine turned over, I glanced back at the house. My mother, Sharon, was standing in the doorway, framed by the warm light from inside. Her arms were crossed over her chest. She wasn't yelling anymore. She was just watching me, and on her face was a look of pure, unadulterated triumph. She had banished the problem. I put the car in reverse and backed out of the driveway. As I shifted into drive, the tears finally came. Hot, silent tears of rage and a profound, bottomless grief. I drove away from the only home I had ever known. "Okay," I whispered to the empty car, the streetlights blurring through my tears. "Okay, Mom. You want me to get out? I'm gone. You want me to never come back? You got it." I didn't drive home. I didn't even drive toward the tiny, cramped studio apartment my family thought I lived in. That little lie was my first line of defense, a financial firewall I'd built years ago to protect myself from their constant demands. If they thought I was just scraping by, they'd ask for less. Instead, I drove downtown. The city lights of Atlanta blurred past my windows, but I wasn't crying anymore. I was cold. I pulled my Tesla, a car they didn't know I owned, into the valet lane at the Four Seasons. I didn't want my apartment. I didn't want to be alone in a place that felt like home. I needed service. I needed sterile, impersonal luxury. I needed to be reminded of the world I actually lived in, the one I had built entirely on my own, separate from them. I checked into the governor's suite. I didn't even look at the price. From the floor to ceiling windows, the city glittered below, a silent, sprawling kingdom that didn't know or care about my family's petty drama. I called room service. A bottle of Veuve Clicquot, the Grande Dame, and the most expensive cheeseboard you have. When the champagne arrived on a rolling silver cart, the adrenaline from the fight finally drained away. It left a strange, quiet clarity. My mother's voice was still echoing in my head, vibrating with that venomous rage. "Get out of my house. Get out and never come back." I poured a glass of champagne, the bubbles fizzing aggressively. I took a long, slow sip. "That's the funny part, Mom," I whispered to my reflection in the dark window. "You just screamed at me to get out of my own house." The memory hit me sharp and clear. It wasn't just a memory. It was the secret foundation of my entire relationship with them for the last 3 years. It was a rainy Tuesday. My father, Marcus, had called me asking to meet at a nondescript coffee shop in Midtown, miles away from our neighborhood. He looked terrible. His eyes were bloodshot, and he hadn't shaved in days. He was a man who prided himself on appearances, and he looked like a ghost. "Kesha, I'm ruined," he whispered, staring into his black coffee. He couldn't even look at me. "What is it, Dad?" The business. It's gone. I trusted the wrong people. Made some bad investments. It's all gone." He finally looked up, and his eyes were filled with a raw panic I had never seen. "The bank is foreclosing, baby. They're taking the house. We have 30 days. He broke down, a full-body sob right there in the middle of a quiet cafe. "I can't tell your mother," he choked out, wiping his face with a rough paper napkin. "The humiliation, Kesha. It will kill her. Losing that house in front of all her friends, in front of Jamal. Please, you're my smart girl. You're the only one who can help. Don't let this happen to us." I sat there stirring my own coffee, my mind racing. What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I wasn't just Kesha with the computer job anymore. 6 months earlier, the data analytics startup I had joined right out of college, the one I'd poured my life into, had been acquired by a major tech conglomerate. My stock options, which I had accepted in lieu of a real salary for years, had vested. Overnight, I had become a multimillionaire. I hadn't told them. Why would I? Every small success I'd ever shared had been either dismissed or immediately followed by a request from Jamal for a loan. My wealth was my secret, my armor. And here was my father, the man who had always praised Jamal's vision while ignoring my achievements, begging me to save him from public humiliation. I looked at him, this broken man, and I made a decision, a business decision. "I can help, Dad," I said. His head snapped up, hope flooding his teary eyes. "But not with a gift," I continued, my voice firm. "This isn't a handout. This is a solution. I will not give you money. You've proven you don't know how to manage it, but I will solve the problem. Anything, Kesha. Anything. I will pay off the $300,000 lien on the house," I said. He started to sob with relief, but I held up my hand. "Wait. In exchange, you will sign the house over to me." Not to me personally, to a family trust that I control. I will be the sole trustee. The name of the trust will be the KIW Family Trust. He blinked, confused. What does that mean? It means, Dad, that I will own the house. You and Mom will no longer be the owners. You will be the residents. I will pay the mortgage off in full. I will cover the property taxes and the insurance moving forward. You and Mom can live there rent-free for the rest of your lives. The house stays in the family. You are saved from foreclosure. You are saved from the humiliation. No one ever needs to know. He stared at me, the wheels turning in his head. He was losing his single greatest asset, but he was also erasing his single greatest failure. Okay, he said, nodding quickly, the relief washing over him again. Okay, Kesha. Yes, whatever you say. Thank you. The bargain was struck. The foundation of their undoing was set, laid bare in the form of a legal contract they never bothered to read. The audacity of their assumption that I would do anything less than protect myself was staggering, and it was about to cost them everything. We met with my lawyers the very next day. David, my attorney, had the papers drawn up instantly. They were ironclad. My father signed over the deed to the KIW Trust. I wired the $300,000 directly to the bank. My mother was never told the details. All she knew was that her husband's financial troubles had been handled by Kesha, and the house was safe. The secret was kept. I sat back on the plush sofa of the hotel suite, the champagne flute cold in my hand. The memory was crystal clear. It wasn't just a simple transfer. My lawyer, David, was a shark. He didn't trust my father, and he certainly didn't trust the vague promises of a family arrangement. This isn't a gift, Kesha. David had told me in his sterile downtown office 3 years ago. My father sat beside me, sweating, desperate for the meeting to be over so he could get the bank off his back. This is a legal transfer of a major asset, David continued, sliding a thick document across the table. I've drafted the trust agreement, the KIW Family Trust. You are the sole trustee and primary beneficiary. Your father, Marcus Wilson, will sign the deed of transfer to the trust. In exchange, the trust agrees to satisfy the outstanding $300,000 mortgage lien. And we can stay? My father had asked, his voice shaky. Your mother? She can't know we've lost the house. That's covered, David said, flipping to a specific page. Article 12, Residency. He explained it in simple terms. Marcus and Sharon Wilson would be granted a lifetime residency in the property. They would live rent-free. The trust, which is you, would cover all property taxes, insurance, and major repairs. To my father, it sounded like a miracle. He was saved. But David, bless his meticulous, cynical heart, had insisted on one more thing. There is one crucial condition to this residency, right? David had said, tapping the page. A failsafe. I've seen family deals go sour, Kesha. I'm protecting your investment and I'm protecting you. He slid the paper closer. Please read Article 12, Section B. My father had squinted, his eyes darting over the legal text. I read it aloud. The right of residency for Marcus and Sharon Wilson is contingent upon the respectful and full enjoyment of the property by the primary beneficiary, Kesha Wilson. This right of residency shall be immediately nullified and voided should the primary beneficiary be denied reasonable access, enjoyment, or be unjustly removed from the property by the residents. David looked at my father. Do you understand what that means, Marcus? It means if you or your wife ever for any reason try to lock Kesha out, tell her she's not welcome, or for example, scream at her to get out and never come back, this contract is broken. Your lifetime residency is gone. You become tenants at will, and Kesha has the immediate and unquestionable right to evict you. My father had laughed nervously. That would never happen. My goodness, no. Kesha is our daughter. She's welcome anytime. This is just legal stuff. I understand. He signed the document without a second thought. My mother, Sharon, had never even seen the document. She was never in the meeting. My father, in his shame, had told her a convenient lie. He'd said Kesha had co-signed on a new loan or helped with the finances. She just knew that her computer job had somehow fixed the bill problem. She had absolutely no idea that for the past 3 years, she hadn't been the queen of her castle. She had been a guest. I took another sip of champagne in the hotel suite. My mother, in her fit of rage, had done the one thing David had predicted. She had no idea that her own words, "Get out," and "Never come back," weren't just a cruel insult. They were a legal trigger. She had just handed me the keys to her entire life. I picked up my phone from the marble side table. My hand was perfectly steady. The rage was gone, replaced by a cold, surgical precision. I found David's number in my contacts. "David, it's Kesha Wilson," I said when his paralegal answered. "I need to speak with him immediately. It's regarding the KIW Trust." I was put on hold for people. Less than 10 seconds. "Kesha." David's sharp voice came on the line. "This is unexpected. Is everything all right with the property? I haven't heard from you in months." "Everything is fine with the property, David," I said, taking another sip of champagne. "The problem is with the residents." What's happened?" I gave him the short version, the party, the demand for $50,000 for Jamal's NFT project, my refusal, my mother's explosive reaction. She screamed it at me in front of at least 30 people, David. Her exact words were, "Get out. Get out of my house and never come back." I paused, letting the words hang in the air. "Now I'm calling to confirm my understanding of our agreement. Article 12, Section B, the residency clause. Am I correct in my interpretation that this constitutes a full and immediate breach?" There was a moment of silence on the other end. Then I heard David let out a short, dry laugh. It was not a sound of humor. It was a sound of legal victory. "A breach?" he repeated. "Kesha, that's not a breach. That's a detonation." "A breach?" he repeated. "Kesha, that's not a breach. That's a detonation." That clause was the fail-safe I put in just in case of something exactly like this. You were unjustly removed from the property. Your right to enjoyment was denied. Your mother's words in front of witnesses just terminated her own residency agreement. So, the lifetime residency is void. As of the second she screamed those words, it is absolutely null and void. Legally, Marcus and Sharon Wilson are no longer protected residents. As of this moment, they are tenants at will, or more accurately, squatters. The word squatters was the most beautiful, clinical word I had ever heard. The cold, sterile language of the law, finally delivering the justice, the messy, emotional reality of family, had denied me for decades. "So, I can sell the house," I stated. "It wasn't a question." "Kesha," David said, and I could hear the smile in his voice. "You can. Sell the house. You can evict them. You can do whatever you damn well please. It is 100% your property, free and clear of all previous encumbrances. They just handed you the keys, the deed, and the entire kingdom. What do you want me to do?" "I want you to draw up the paperwork, David," I said, my voice as cold as the ice in my champagne bucket. "The eviction notices, and I want you to be ready to facilitate an immediate cash-only sale. I'm putting the house on the market tonight. Consider it done. I'll have the preliminary notices drafted within the hour." I finished the call with David, my adrenaline surging. There was no time to waste. I immediately pulled up the contact for Melanie King, the top high-end real estate agent in Atlanta. I hadn't just known Melanie. I had cultivated this relationship, referring her tech clients for the past 2 years. She owed me a favor. She answered on the second ring. "Kesha, what a surprise. I was just about to text you about that new condo, listing in Midtown. Are you finally ready to ditch that little studio?" "Hi, Melanie. I'm calling about something different. I need your services immediately." Her tone shifted instantly. "All business." "Okay, I'm listening. What's the property?" "The house in Collier Heights. The 4-bedroom colonial. My family's home." Your parents' house?" Melanie sounded confused. I thought, are they okay?" "They're fine," I said, my voice clipped and cold. "But the property is held in a trust that I control, and the residency terms have been breached. The house is now mine to sell, and I want it sold." Melanie was smart enough not to ask personal questions. "Understood. You want an evaluation? We can start I want it listed," I interrupted. "Not next month. I want it on the market by this Friday. This weekend." I heard the faint sound of her typing. "Kesha, a property like that, listing it so quickly. To get the best price, we should really do staging, professional photos." "I don't care about the best price," I said. "I care about the fastest price. What's the market like right now for that neighborhood?" There was a pause as she pulled up the data. "The market in Collier Heights is on fire, absolutely scorching. Inventory is low, and that street is highly desirable. A 4-bedroom in that condition, even with a quick sale, you could easily get 1.2 million, maybe 1.3 if we get a bidding war. 1.2 million. The number my father had thrown away for a $300,000 bailout. Good, I said. List it. I want a fast, all-cash offer. No contingencies. Close in 14 days or less. Can you do that? Melanie let out a low whistle. A cash-only, quick close sale will definitely limit our pool of buyers. But at that price point, we'll still get a lot of investor attention. Yes, I can do that. I'll need access for photos tomorrow. My lawyer, David, will be in touch with all the legal paperwork and access codes. Just get it done, Melanie. I want it sold before my champagne. Bottle is empty. Consider it listed, Kesha. I'll have the listing active by sundown tomorrow. The calls with David and Melanie were just the legal side. The next step was personal. It was the financial severance. I swiveled in the plush hotel chair, my laptop warm on my lap. I opened a secure browser, logged into my private wealth management account, and navigated to the scheduled payments tab. It was a long list. For 3 years, I hadn't just saved them from foreclosure. I had been funding their entire lifestyle, all under the guise of helping out. I was their secret benefactor, and they had treated me like their indentured servant. I found the first item, Marcus Wilson Auto Loan. My father's Lexus. $850 a month automatically paid for my account on the first. A car he used to drive to the golf club. A car he used to reinforce his image as a successful provider while his own daughter paid his bills. My finger hovered over the mouse. He had stood there silent, letting my mother scream at me. He had chosen his pride over his child. I clicked cancel payment. A small box popped up. Are you sure you want to stop this recurring payment? I clicked confirm. The dismantling had begun. Next, Sharon Wilson Amex account, my mother, $2,000 a month. This was her discretionary fund which I'd set up so she could buy groceries without asking my father for money. But I saw the statements. It wasn't groceries. It was Neiman Marcus. It was spa days. It was lunches with her friends at clubs I wasn't invited to. It was the price of her affection. And it turned out my credit limit wasn't high enough. I clicked cancel payment. I clicked confirm. Next, Jamal Wilson Business Consulting. This was the most insulting one. $2,500 a month. It was his allowance, a direct transfer I'd agreed to so he could get on his feet after his first business failed. 3 years later, he was still getting on his feet, and now he wanted $50,000 more for an NFT scam. This payment wasn't just funding his failures, it was funding his arrogance. I clicked cancel payment. Confirm. Finally, Ashley Wilson. Household expenses $1,500 a month. This was for Jamal's white wife, the one who looked down on my computer job. This card was supposed to be for family needs, for my non-existent nephew or niece. Instead, the statements showed charges for Bali research, designer handbags, and expensive dinners. She had stood by Jamal, smirking as I was verbally assaulted. I clicked cancel payment. Confirm. I scrolled down the list. Car insurance, their cell phone family plan, their high-speed internet. I stopped every single one. The digital VIP of each confirmation was the sound of a chain breaking. In the span of 5 minutes, I had cut off nearly $7,000 in monthly support. They just didn't know it yet. I was staring at the confirm screen for the last payment, a notification from Ashley's canceled card when my personal phone rang. It wasn't one of them. The caller ID just said, Aunt Amani, my father's sister. The only person in my entire family who ever asked about my work and actually listened to the answer. The only one who sent me a check for my college graduation, even though my own parents forgot. I let the adrenaline settle and answered, my voice still a little shaky. Aunt Amani, Kesha baby, thank God you picked up. Her voice was rich and warm, but laced with a worry that immediately put me on edge. I just got off the phone with your daddy. He's over here talking about family emergencies and misunderstandings. Baby, what happened? Did Sharon really put you out? The validation in her voice, the fact that she believed me instantly, almost made me cry again. She did, Auntie, in front of everyone. She screamed it, told me to get out and never come back. I heard a long, slow sigh on the other end. Lord, that fool of a woman. After all you've done, I knew this day would come. So what are you going to do? I already did it, I said, my voice hardening. I cut off the credit cards, all of them. And I'm selling the house. You what? You're selling the house? It's mine, Auntie. I'm the one who's owned it for 3 years. She breached the contract. I'm selling it. There was a pause, and then Auntie Amani started to laugh. It was a deep, satisfied chuckle. Good for you. Oh, baby, good for you. It's about time. And you know what? It's poetic justice. That's what it is. What do you mean by that, Auntie? I asked, my voice dropping, becoming serious. There's something I've held my tongue about for 15 years out of respect for my brother, but he just proved he don't deserve my silence. Do you know where that first $300,000, the money your father lost, came from? He said it was his business. Bad investments, partly. But do you know where he got the seed money he lost? Do you remember when your granddaddy Thomas, your mother's father, passed away when you were 18? Vaguely. Mom said he didn't leave much. He didn't leave them much. Keisha, Auntie Amani corrected. He left you $50,000 in a trust for when you turned 18. I sat bolt upright in the hotel chair. What? $50,000? Baby, your mother and father told you it was college money that had to be managed by the family. They told you not to touch it. And then, when Marcus's business started failing, before he ever came to you, he borrowed that $50,000. He didn't just lose the house once, Kesha. He lost it after he'd already spent your entire inheritance trying to save it. The room started to spin. They stole it. They stole it, she confirmed. So don't you dare feel guilty about taking that house. You didn't just buy it 3 years ago. You paid for it twice. You're just finally collecting the debt. I hung up the phone with Aunt Amani, my hand numb. The champagne in my glass had gone flat. I didn't care. The last remaining warmth in my chest had evaporated, replaced by an Arctic cold. It wasn't just the party. It wasn't just the mortgage. It was a lifetime of systematic deception. They hadn't just used me. They had stolen from me. They had taken my inheritance, the last gift from my grandfather, and used it to patch up their own mistakes, all while telling me I was the ungrateful one. My anger, which had been a hot, messy explosion, now cooled and sharpened into something new, something hard and clear like a diamond. It was resolve. I was no longer a daughter reacting to a family fight. I was a trustee executing a business decision. I called Melanie back. Melanie, I need that listing active tonight, not tomorrow. Tonight. Tonight, Keisha. The photos. Use the photos from the last appraisal. I don't care. Just get it on the private market listings. I want cash only. 14-day close, as is. Price it at $1.25 million. First offer at that price takes it. I'm not negotiating. 1.25. That's aggressive for a quick sale, she said. It's a hot market, Melanie. You said so yourself. And it's a desirable neighborhood. The investors will see the value. I just want this done. Okay, Melanie said, her voice catching the urgency in mine. Okay, boss. I'll have it listed within the hour. True to her word, by midnight, the listing was live. My phone, which I had put on Do Not Disturb for all family members, was silent. The silence from their end was deafening. It had been over 24 hours since my mother had kicked me out. No calls, no texts, not even an angry message from Jamal about his canceled card. They were giving me the silent treatment. They were letting me pout. They fully expected me to come crawling back in a few days full of apologies, begging to be let back into the family, ready to turn the financial taps back on. They thought I was having a tantrum. They had no idea I was conducting a demolition. For the next 2 days, I lived at the Four Seasons. I worked remotely on my laptop. I ordered room service, and I spoke only to David and Melanie. On Monday morning, Melanie called. You weren't kidding, she said, her voice filled with awe. We have 3 all-cash offers. One is for 1.2. One is at your asking price, 1.25. And a third from an investment firm in California is for 1.25 million. Plus they'll cover all closing costs. They want to close in 10 days. Take the California offer, I said without hesitation. Send the paperwork to David immediately. It's done. Kesha, are you okay? I'm fantastic, Melanie. Thank you. I hung up. The house was sold. The deal was in motion. And my family was completely oblivious. They were likely sitting in my living room complaining about my attitude, completely unaware that the clock was ticking. They hadn't realized the credit cards were maxed out and declined. They hadn't realized the car payment was late. They hadn't realized the house they were sitting in was no longer theirs. The storm was coming, and I was the storm. 10 days. That's how long the silence lasted. 10 days of me working remotely from the Four Seasons, coordinating, with David on the sale, and speaking to no one from my family. The quiet was blissful. I had almost forgotten the storm that was about to break. The first domino fell on a Tuesday. I was in the middle of a heavy Zoom call with my data science team, walking them through a new predictive model. My phone, set to silent, lit up on the desk beside me. It was Jamal. I ignored it. It buzzed again and again. On the fourth call, I sighed, motioned to my team for a 1-minute break, and muted my microphone. I picked up the phone. Jamal. Kesha. Oh my God. Finally. Where have you been? Are you near your bank? His voice was a high-pitched squeak of pure panic. I had never heard him sound like this. He usually spoke with a lazy, entitled drawl. This was new. I'm in a meeting, Jamal. What's wrong? It's the card. The business card you gave me. It's not working, he said, his words tumbling over each other. I'm here at the tech vendor. I was buying the monitors for the gallery. I had my new partners with me, Kesha partners, and they declined it. They ran it 3 times. It just said declined. They looked at me like I was a joke. I leaned back in my chair. I took a sip of water. I pictured him standing in a store, his face red, his easy charm failing him for the first time. How embarrassing for you, I said, my voice flat. What, Kesha? This isn't funny. This is a disaster. You have to call the bank. It must be some kind of system error. Or maybe you hit a limit. Can you just transfer me the money? I need $12,000 right now. Just wire it. I'll pay you back when the NFTs start selling. When the NFTs start selling? The delusion was almost impressive. Jamal, I said, keeping my voice very, very quiet. There's no system error. What do you mean? Of course there is. The card worked fine last week when I took the partners to dinner. Yes, I said. I'm sure it did. But it's not a system error, Jamal. It was a conscious decision. A decision? What decision? Just call the bank and fix it. I look like a fool here. No, Jamal, I said, savoring the moment just a little. It's not a bank decision. It's my decision. I canceled the card. There was a long, static-filled silence on the line. I could hear the tiny sound of the electronic store's overhead music in the background. Canceled? Jamal finally sputtered. What do you mean canceled? You can't just cancel it. Why would you do that? I need that card, Kesha. My partners are standing right here. No, Jamal, I said. My voice was quiet, but it had a new weight to it. You're mistaken. You don't need that card. I need that card. Or more accurately, I need the money that you've been spending on it. Money, which, by the way, has always been mine. What are you? I don't understand what you're talking about. Let me make it perfectly clear for you then, I said, leaning forward in my hotel chair. I'm talking about the party 10 days ago. The one where I was publicly humiliated and then screamed at by our mother. Oh, come on, Kesh. The one, I continued, cutting him off, where she told me in front of everyone to get out and never come back. And you stood there, and Dad stood there, and Ashley stood there. None of you said a word, so I did exactly what she said. I left. Kesha, that's just Mom being Mom. You can't be serious. I am perfectly serious, Jamal. I am no longer a member of the family. Those were the terms. And if I am no longer a part of the family, I am damn sure no longer part of the family's financial obligations. The Bank of Kesha is closed permanently. Don't be so childish, he yelled, his voice cracking with panic. That was just a fight. You know, she was just angry. She didn't mean it. You're really going to ruin my deal over a stupid argument. This wasn't a stupid argument, Jamal. This was a lifetime of behavior finally reaching its conclusion. You need $50,000. Ask Mom. Ask Dad. Or better yet, as a 30-year-old visionary, it's time you learned how to get it yourself. Kesha, wait. Don't you dare hang up on me. I hung up. I unmuted my Zoom call, smiled at my team, and said, sorry about that. Now, about that algorithm. I had just finished my Zoom meeting, a successful call that secured a new contract, when my phone rang again. Of course, it was my mother. The caller ID, Sharon, seemed to glare at me. I let it ring twice, took a sip of my now cold champagne, and answered, Hello, Mom. Kesha Amani Wilson. What in God's name do you think you are playing at? The shriek was so loud I had to pull the phone away from my ear. There was no greeting, just pure, unfiltered rage. I don't know what you mean, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. Don't you play dumb with me. Your brother is in his car crying. Crying, Kesha. He's humiliated. And Ashley? Ashley just called me from the checkout line at Whole Foods. Her card was declined in front of everyone. Are you trying to destroy this family? Are you Trying to humiliate us? I looked around the beautiful, silent hotel suite. The contrast between her chaos and my calm was almost funny. Humiliate you? I repeated. No, Mom, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just gone like you told me to be. What are you talking about? I'm talking about the credit cards. You turn them back on right now. Ashley is stranded at the grocery store. That sounds like a problem for Ashley, I said. Or for her husband, Jamal. I'm sure he can use some of his vision to figure it out. You stop this. You stop this right now, she screamed. You are a part of this family and you will not do this to us. Mom, I said, and my voice was so cold it surprised even me. You were very clear 10 days ago. You stood in front of 30 people and you told me to get out. You told me to never come back. So, I left, and I took my money with me. You can't have it both ways. You can't kick me out of the family and then send me the bill. I am doing exactly what you told me to do. I am gone. I don't care about what I said, she shrieked, her voice cracking with pure entitlement. I don't care about some fight we had. I am your mother and I am telling you that I have a dinner party with the Harrises tonight. The Harrises, Kesha, do you understand? I need a new dress. I need to get my hair done. Ashley is stranded. You are going to turn those cards back on now. The sheer absurdity of it almost made me laugh. She was standing in a house I owned, a house that would be put up for sale in a matter of days, screaming at me because she couldn't buy a new dress for a party I, of course, was not invited to. No, Mom, I said. What did you just say to me? I said, no, I'm sorry. I can't help you with that. You can't? She sputtered, so full of rage she could barely form a sentence. Kesha, if you don't turn those cards on in the next 5 minutes, I swear to God. You'll what? I asked, genuinely curious. What will you do? Mom, kick me out again? You already did that. Disown me? You already did that too. You have nothing left to threaten me with. I am your mother, and I am a person you threw away. Goodbye, Mom. I hung up. My phone immediately rang again. Sharon. I declined the call, and with a satisfying click, I blocked her number. I sat back, my heart pounding, but a strange sense of calm settling over me. I had finally done it. 10 minutes later, the phone in my hotel suite rang. I picked it up. Hello, Miss Wilson. This is Marcus at the front desk. His voice was polite but strained. I'm so sorry to bother you, but there is a woman in the lobby, a Mrs. Sharon Wilson. She is rather insistent that she speak with you. She's claiming to be your mother and says it's an emergency. I closed my eyes. Of course, she hadn't guessed I was here. She had gone to my studio apartment first, found it empty, panicked, and was now calling every expensive hotel in the city, trying to find me. Marcus, I said, my voice smooth as glass. I have never heard of a person by that name in my life. I am here on business, and I have no family in Atlanta. She must be mistaken. Oh, I see. Miss Wilson. I apologize for the intrusion. Thank you, Marcus. Please instruct your staff not to put any calls through to my room, unless they are on the approved list I gave you at check-in. And please have security escort that woman off the property. She sounds unstable. Right away, Miss Wilson. I hung up. I walked to the window. Sure enough, 20 floors below, I could see a small figure my mother arguing with 2 uniformed security guards. After a moment, they gently but firmly guided her toward the street. I sipped my champagne. The eviction from the Four Seasons lobby must have sent my mother into a full-blown meltdown. The next attack didn't come via phone. It came via email late that night. The sender was Ashley. The subject line just said, "What you are doing." I opened it. It was a novel, a long, rambling, vitriolic masterpiece of projection and rage. "I don't know who you think you are," it began. "You think because you have a little money, you can just destroy everyone. You are a selfish, jealous little brat, Kesha. You have always been jealous of Jamal. You can't stand to see him happy and building something, so you have to tear him down. You are a disgrace." It went on like this for paragraphs, but then it took a turn that made my blood run cold. "And don't you dare act like you're some pillar of the community. You're nothing but a race traitor. You abandoned your family. You left your black brother and your black parents high and dry just to feel powerful. I have done more for this family in 3 years than you have in 32. You're just a cowardly rat hiding in your expensive hotel room, too scared to face what you've done." A white woman who had married into our family and appropriated our culture like a costume was calling me a race traitor because I had stopped letting her spend my money. The audacity was breathtaking. I read the email twice, My hand didn't even shake. I simply clicked forward. I typed in David's email address. For the subject, I wrote, "For your files." In the body of the email, I wrote one sentence. "David, please add this to the harassment file. It might be useful when they try to claim emotional distress." I hit send. Then I deleted her email and blocked her email address. I was about to turn off my laptop when my personal phone rang. It was Aunt Amani. I smiled and picked it up. "War update, Auntie." I heard her trying to stifle a laugh. "Baby, you have set a fire in this family that is just delicious to watch. Your father just called me freaking out." "Oh yeah? What about the Lexus? The payment is late." He got an alert and he called the finance company and they said the automatic payment was canceled. He was yelling, "I don't understand. My daughter handles this. He wanted me to call you and tell you to fix it." "And what did you say?" "I told him," she said, her voice dripping with satisfaction. "I told him, Marcus, it sounds like your daughter already did fix it. Maybe you should have been nicer to the one with the bank account." "Maybe." I had to mute the phone. I was laughing so hard. He hung up on me. "They are finally realizing what you've been doing for them, and they are not handling it well." The demolition was on schedule. The final, most important call came 4 days later. Friday morning, 14 days after the party, the first of the month had passed. The mortgage payment, which I had personally set up to auto-draft from my trust account, was now officially late. The bank's grace period was ending. I was reviewing the sales contract for the house when my phone rang. "Dad." This was it. I let it ring 3 times, took a deep breath and answered, putting it on speaker. "Kesha." His voice was strained. He was trying to sound casual, like he was just calling to chat, but the tension underneath was so thick I could almost touch it. There was no hello, no how are you. "Hi, Dad." "Hey, Pumpkin. Listen, I'm glad I caught you. Something strange is going on. I just got a call from Central Bank. A very confusing call." "Oh," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Yes, they're saying the mortgage payment for this month. It hasn't been paid. They said the automatic payment was canceled." I told them that's impossible, that you handle all of that. It must be some kind of error, right? He laughed, a short, nervous bark of a laugh. "I've been trying to call you all week, but your phone, it's just been going straight to voicemail." "I've been busy," I said. "Yes, well, I'm sure you have. Look, can you check your bank account? I think when you canceled those other cards for Jamal and your mother, you know, when you were angry, you probably canceled the mortgage payment by accident. It's an easy mistake to make. If you could just call them and straighten it out, I'd appreciate it. They're starting to use words like default." He was giving me an out. He was offering me a way to save face, to pretend this was all a terrible, angry accident, and to just put everything back the way it was. I sat there looking at the signed multi-million-dollar sales contract on my laptop. I took a slow, deep breath. "There was no error, Dad." "What? What do you mean?" His voice faltered. "I mean, it wasn't an accident. I didn't unintentionally cancel it." I paused, letting the reality sink in. "I stopped the payment on purpose." "What do you mean you stopped it?" My father's voice was thin, the forced casualness completely gone. "Keisha, that's not possible. It's an automatic payment. You set it up yourself." "It was an automatic payment," I corrected him, "from my trust account, an account I have full control over. I went in manually, Dad. I logged in. I saw the recurring payment labeled mortgage, and I clicked cancel. It wasn't an accident. I stopped the payment." The silence on the other end of the line was heavy. I could hear his breathing quicken, becoming shallow. "Why?" he finally choked out. "In God's name, Kesha, why? This isn't like the credit cards. This is the house. You know we can't. You know I don't have that kind of money. Are you trying to punish your mother? Is that it? Are you willing to make us homeless just to get back at her?" His accusation, his immediate attempt to paint me as the cruel, vindictive child, was so predictable, so practiced. "Punish her?" I replied, my voice devoid of all emotion. "No, Dad, I'm not punishing anyone. I'm simply following instructions." Mom was very clear. "Get out and never come back." Those were her exact words. She screamed them in front of 30 people. So, I'm out. I'm gone. And if I'm gone, my money is gone too. It seems pretty simple to me. You can't have one without the other. But that's just words, Kesha. His voice was rising, cracking with a panic I hadn't heard. since the day he begged me to save him from foreclosure. She was angry. She didn't mean it. You can't just let the bank take our home. Our home? The home where you grew up, where your brother and your mother live. You can't just let them put us out on the street. Kesha, please. I paused, letting his panic echo in the quiet of my hotel suite. You're right, Dad. What? He sounded relieved, grabbing onto that tiny scrap of hope. Okay, good. So, you'll call them, you'll fix this, you'll reinstate the payment. No, I said. I mean, you're right. I can't let the bank take the house, and I won't. Then what? You're just a little confused about the situation, Dad. I promised him the bank wasn't going to take the house at all. He seized on that immediately. They're not. Oh, thank God, Kesha baby. I knew you wouldn't. So, you'll pay it. You'll make the payment right now. No, Dad. I'm not going to make the payment. But the bank still won't take the house. I could hear his confused, heavy breathing on the other end. What? What are you talking about, Kesha? That makes no sense. If we don't pay the mortgage, the bank forecloses. That's how it works. That's how it works when the bank holds the mortgage, I said. But the bank doesn't hold that mortgage anymore, Dad. I paid it off 3 years ago. Remember? Yes, but they're calling me about a default. No, I'm calling you about a default. Or rather, I will be. But that's getting ahead of ourselves. Let's start simple. I paused, letting the silence stretch. Dad, I said, my voice dropping into that cold, clear tone. You can't lose something that you do not own. The silence that followed was absolute. It was so complete I thought he might have hung up. I could hear the faint, distant sound of a car horn from my hotel window, but from his end, there was nothing, not even breathing. What did you say? He finally whispered. I said, enunciating every word. I actually read the documents you signed 3 years ago. Or were you just so desperate to hide your failure from Mom that you would have signed anything I put in front of you? It was a loan, he stammered. You were helping us. A family loan. No, Dad, it was not a loan. It was a transfer. You were bankrupt. You had zero collateral. No one, not even me, would loan you $300,000. I didn't loan you the money. I bought the asset. No, Kesha. Yes, Dad. You signed a quitclaim deed. You transferred the full and legal title of the property at 452 Collier Drive to a private trust. A trust I established. A trust I control. Do you remember the name, Dad, or were you not paying attention? He was silent. It's called the KIW Family Trust. Kesha Imani Wilson. Legally, Dad. That is my house. Your trust? My father stammered. I could hear the blood draining from his face through the phone. What are you talking about? You said it was just a formality. It was a legal transfer, Dad. And you signed it. You signed the deed over to the KIW Family Trust, of which I am the sole trustee. And in that trust agreement, there was a clause. Do you remember it? Article 12. The residency clause. I don't. Let me refresh your memory, I said, pulling up the document on my laptop. I read it to him, my voice clear and slow. Article 12, Section B. The right of residency for Marcus and Sharon Wilson is contingent upon the respectful and full enjoyment of the property by the primary beneficiary, Kesha Wilson. This right of residency shall be immediately nullified and voided should the primary beneficiary be denied reasonable access, enjoyment, or be unjustly removed from the property by the residents. I let the legal jargon hang in the air for a second. Do you understand what that means, Dad? When Mom stood in that backyard in front of 30 witnesses and screamed at me to get out and never come back, she didn't just hurt my feelings. She violated a legally binding contract. No, Kesha, she was angry. And you? I cut him off. You stood right there. You said nothing. You let her do it. Your silence was complicity. You both violated the terms of the trust. As of that moment, your lifetime residency was terminated. It's gone. No, you can't, he pleaded, his voice cracking. That's our home, Kesha. You can't just evict us. We're your parents. I'm not just evicting you, Dad, I said. You're confused. Eviction is for tenants. You're trespassers on my property. Please, Kesha, we can fix this. I'll talk to your mother. We'll apologize. Well, it's too late for that, I said. You seem to think you're just late on a payment. You don't get it. The contract is broken, and you're not just trespassing. I paused, savoring the final beautiful, terrible moment. I already sold it. I heard a sharp, strangled gasp on the other end of the line. It sounded like he couldn't get any air. What did you do? He whispered. I sold the house, Dad, I said, my voice as calm as the grave. Melanie listed it on Monday. We had 3 all-cash offers by Tuesday. I accepted one from a California investment firm, $1.25 million. They've already wired the earnest money and they want to close in 10 days. Actually, as of this morning, we've moved it up. They close in 1 week. I let that sink in. This isn't a joke, he said. Not a question, but a dawning, horrified realization. No, Dad, this is not a joke. This is a real estate transaction and it is final, which means, I continued, that you, Mom, Jamal and his charming wife Ashley have exactly 7 days to get all of your belongings out of my property. I heard a loud clatter and then a heavy thud. He had dropped the phone. I waited. I could hear him fumbling, his breath coming in ragged gasps. Kesha. His voice came back, but it was different. It was the voice of the broken man in the coffee shop 3 years ago. The voice of a beggar. Kesha, baby, please don't do this. You're your mother. She won't survive this. This will destroy her. This will destroy us. She should have thought of that before she breached a legal contract, I said, my voice like ice. She should have thought of that before she treated me like dirt. We'll apologize. We'll do anything. Just stop the sale. Call them back. Tell them it was a mistake. No, I said. This is not a mistake. This is a consequence. This is what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you, Dad. And you didn't just bite it. You tried to chew it off. You have 7 days, I repeated, cutting him off. My lawyer, David, will be serving you with the official notice to vacate by certified mail tomorrow morning. I suggest you tell Jamal to put his NFT gallery on hold and start looking for a U-Haul. Good luck, Dad. Kesha, wait, don't. I hung up the phone. I stood up from the plush hotel chair and walked to the window. I looked out over the glittering Atlanta skyline. I didn't feel happy. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel angry. I just felt empty. And for the first time in my entire life, I felt completely and totally free. The 7 days that followed were a special kind of hell. But this time, I wasn't the one living in it. I was the one watching it burn. The official eviction notice, delivered by a court processor and requiring a signature, arrived at my old house the next morning. According to David, my mother refused to accept it. So, the processor legally served it to my father at the door. That's when the real flood of calls began. My father called back not once, but at least 20 times that day. His tone shifted with every attempt. The first call was bargaining. Kesha. Okay, I understand. You're angry. You have every right to be. But let's be reasonable adults. The house is worth $1.25 million. What? What if you give us $500,000 from the sale? Just $500,000. We can use that to find a new place. Get back on our feet. You still walk away with a huge profit. It's a win-win. I just said, no, Dad. The sale is final and I'm not giving you anything. The second call an hour later was pure unfiltered rage. I will sue you, he shouted. I'll tell the judge you tricked me. I'll tell them you took advantage of my financial distress. I'll have that trust agreement thrown out. You committed fraud, Kesha. Fraud. I didn't even raise my voice. You're welcome to try, Dad, but I'd advise your lawyer to request all the discovery from David first. Specifically, the high-definition video recording of the entire signing meeting. What? What video? The one where David, my lawyer, asks you point-blank, Marcus, do you understand that you are signing over the full and legal title of your home to the KIW Trust? And you, what did you say? Oh yes, you smiled. You looked right at the camera and you said, I understand perfectly, and I am so grateful to my daughter for saving my family from ruin. Do you really want a judge to see that? He hung up. The third call near midnight was the one I expected, the begging. Kesha, pumpkin, please. His voice was wrecked, broken. I can't. Your mother, she's not okay. She hasn't come out of the bedroom. She hasn't eaten in 2 days. She's just lying in the dark crying. You're doing this to her. You're killing your mother. Whatever we did, we deserve this. Does she deserve this? She deserved a daughter who loved her. I said, my voice empty, and she threw her away. You have 6 days left, Dad. I suggest you stop calling me and start packing. Of course, Jamal and Ashley had their own meltdowns. After my father's failed attempts, my phone lit up with a barrage of texts from Ashley. They were unfiltered rage. "You think you're so smart, don't you? You jealous, selfish little. We know what you're doing. You're just mad because Jamal has real vision and you're just a number cruncher." Then the texts took the same action bizarre, desperate turn as her email. "You are a disgrace to your own family. A real black woman would never do this. You'd stand by your people. You're a race traitor, Keisha. Choosing your white man's money over your own family. You're pathetic." I read the messages one after another, feeling nothing but a dull, tired disgust. This from the woman who just 2 weeks ago had mocked my nerdy computer job. I didn't bother replying. I just held down my finger on her contact name and pressed block contact. A few hours later, Jamal tried. His approach was different. He tried to be the reasonable one, the smooth peacemaker. "Kesh, hey, look. I know everyone's really upset," he started, his voice all smooth and conciliatory. "Mom, you know how she is. She just explodes. She didn't mean it, and Dad is just stressed. But come on, sis. You can't be serious about this. Kicking Mom and Dad out, making them homeless. That's not who you are." "Who am I, Jamal?" I asked, my voice flat. You're our sister. You're the one who always, helps out. You're the responsible one. Don't let one bad night ruin everything. We're family, Kesha. You can't just throw us away." "Jamal," I said, "I was the one who helped out. And in return, you all stood by and watched Mom crucify me for saying no for the first time in my life. You have 5 days. I suggest you stop calling me and start helping them pack." I hung up. My phone immediately rang again. This time I smiled. It was Aunt Amani. "How's my favorite newly liberated millionaire doing?" She cackled. "I'm surviving, Auntie." "Surviving, baby? You are thriving. I just got off the phone with your father again. He's moved on from begging to just, making small animal noises. It was hilarious. I'm sitting on my porch with a mimosa toasting to your name. Good for you, Kesha. It's about damn time someone put Sharon in her place." The reckoning was now a public spectacle, and I was finally viewing it from the correct side of the fence. The final, formal confrontation didn't happen at the hotel. It happened at my office. It was Friday, day 6. They had 1 day left before the new owners took possession. I was in my actual office, a sleek, glass-walled space overlooking downtown Atlanta. The Four Seasons had been my command center, but this was my fortress. I was in a meeting with my lead developer when my assistant buzzed my intercom. "Kesha." Her voice was hesitant. I'm not sure how to handle this. There are some people in the lobby. A Mr. and Mrs. Wilson and 2 others. They say it's an emergency, a family emergency. They're causing a bit of a scene. My mother, of course, she would bring her drama right to my doorstep." I sighed. "It's fine, Maria. Don't call security. Just show them to conference room 3 and bring them water. Nothing else. Tell them I'll be there in 5 minutes." My developer looked at me. "You sure you're okay?" "I'm just handling the last bit of family business," I said. I grabbed my phone, walked out of my office, and headed down the hall. I pushed open the heavy glass door to the conference room, and there they were, the 4 of them huddled around the massive, polished granite table, looking small and out of place. They looked pathetic. My father, Marcus, looked like he had aged 20 years in the last 2 weeks. His skin was gray, his shoulders slumped. He looked defeated. My mother, Sharon, was almost unrecognizable. Her eyes were swollen shut from crying. Her hair was a mess, and she was wearing a stained sweatsuit. The matriarch was gone. Ashley was beside her, looking pale and furious, her cheap-looking acrylic nails tapping a frantic rhythm on the granite. And Jamal just looked like a petulant child slouched in his chair, glaring at the floor. I didn't sit down. I stood at the head of the table, placing my phone face down on the surface. "You're causing a scene in my lobby," I said. "This is a place of business. You have 15 minutes. Speak." "You can't do this," my mother Sharon finally whispered. Her voice was raw and hoarse, a shadow of the powerful shriek she'd used to banish me. "Kesha, please. That is our home. You can't just sell it. It's where you grew up." I looked at her, this woman who looked so broken, and I felt absolutely nothing. No pity, no remorse. "No, Mom," I said. My voice was calm, measured. It was the voice I used in boardrooms. It is not your home. It hasn't been your home for 3 years. It is my home, a piece of property held in my trust. And you screamed at me to get out of it. I'm just respecting your wishes. So what? Jamal suddenly exploded, slamming his palms flat on the granite conference table. The sound echoed in the sterile room. So what if it's legally yours? You don't even need it. I turned my gaze to him. Excuse me. Aunt Amani told us. He spat, his face contorting with a jealousy that was far more potent than his previous panic. She told us everything. You're not just doing okay, you're a millionaire. You sold your stupid little computer company. You're hiding all this money from us. He stood up so fast, his chair screeched backward. You have a penthouse downtown. A penthouse, and you're still going to throw us out on the street? You're going to take away our only house just because Mom got angry. What kind of monster are you? The accusation hung in the air. Ashley was nodding frantically beside him, her eyes wide. My father looked ashamed, but my mother's expression changed. The grief vanished, replaced by a new, horrifying calculation. She was looking at me differently, not as her daughter, but as a resource she hadn't known about. I let his words settle. I let the accusation of my wealth fill the room. So that's what this is really about, I said, a slow, cold smile spreading across my face. It's not that I'm being cruel. It's not that I'm heartless. It's that I'm rich, and I'm not sharing. You're damn right, Jamal yelled. Ah, I said, nodding slowly. I see. It's not about family. It's not about Mom being angry. It's about the fact that I won. It's about the fact that I'm successful while you're still begging for handouts for NFT scams. I looked right at him, at my golden child brother, the visionary, the one they all bet on. It just eats you alive, doesn't it, Jamal? That the nerdy little girl, the boring sister, the computer geek you and Ashley made fun of actually did it. She's the millionaire. She's the one with the penthouse. And you? You're the one begging her for scraps. That's what this is about, isn't it? You're just mad that I'm more successful than you will ever be. Jamal looked like I had physically struck him. He recoiled, his face pale, his mouth opening and closing without a sound. Stop it, both of you! My father finally roared. He stood up, his own chair scraping loudly against the floor. He looked at me, his eyes, red-rimmed and desperate. All right, you're right, he shouted, his voice cracking. Is that what you want to hear? We made a mistake, a terrible, stupid mistake. Your mother lost her head. I was a coward. We failed you. Okay, we failed you. He took a ragged breath, leaning on the table with both hands. But this is blood, Kesha. This is your mother. This is your father. You're right. You're rich. You're a millionaire. You won. Congratulations. So, are you really going to do this? Are you really going to put your own parents out on the street? Are you going to make your mother sleep in a shelter just to prove a point? His raw desperation, the admission of failure, was something new. It hung in the air, thick with the smell of their defeat. My mother looked up, her eyes wide, sensing a possible opening, a chance for mercy. I let the silence sit for a long moment. I watched my father, the man who had been a silent accomplice, now reduced to begging. No, I said, my voice quiet. I'm not going to let you sleep on the street. My mother let out a small, sharp sob of relief. Her hand went to her chest and she looked at my father, a tiny flicker of hope returning to her eyes. Oh, Kesha, she whispered. Baby, I knew you. I knew you wouldn't. I wouldn't, I interrupted, my voice still cold. Because I am not you. I will not be as cruel as you were, but I am also not a fool. I reached into my briefcase, the one they'd never seen, and pulled out a single sheet of paper and a key. I am not, I said, letting you stay in my house. The sale is final, but I am also not leaving you with nothing. I've already made arrangements. I've leased a 2-bedroom apartment at the Midtown complex. It's clean, it's secure, and it's all you're going to get. I've prepaid the rent for 6 months. An apartment? Jamal let out this ugly, bitter laugh. A 2-bedroom apartment. We live in a 4-bedroom house, Kesha. You expect all 4 of us to cram into some tiny little box in Midtown. Oh no, Jamal, you misunderstand, I said, my voice soft. I looked at him, my gaze flat and hard. The apartment isn't for you. Ashley's head snapped up. What? What do you mean? I mean, the apartment is for Mom and Dad, I clarified. You and Ashley, you're on your own. You're a 30-year-old visionary, Jamal, a businessman. It's time you supported your own wife. You're not their dependent child anymore. You're just their problem, and you are certainly not my problem. You can't. Ashley shrieked, her voice high and thin. You can't just throw us out. We're family. Where are we supposed to go? I don't know, Ashley, I said. Maybe you can find a co-signer for a lease, but you're not my responsibility. I turned my back on them and looked only at my parents. Mom, Dad, here is the offer. You take the 2-bedroom apartment. The rent is prepaid for 6 months. After that, you'll have to figure it out. I am also setting up a direct deposit stipend. A mother's head, which had been buried in her hands, snapped up. The crying stopped instantly, replaced by a flicker of the old greed. A stipend? She whispered. How? How much? $1,500 a month, I said. The hope in her eyes vanished, replaced by pure, unadulterated outrage. $1,500? She shrieked. $1,500? We can't live on that. The Lexus payment alone is... The Lexus is canceled, Mom, I said sharply. $1,500 is for food. It's for the electric bill. It is not for Neiman Marcus. It is not for Jamal's NFT projects. And it is not for a luxury car. It is just enough to survive. But my appointments, our club dues, she stammered. I can't live like that. I looked at my mother, this woman who hadn't held a job in 3 decades, and I gave her my final line. Then you'll have to get a job. A heavy, dead silence filled the conference room. Jamal and Ashley looked like they were going to be sick. My mother was weeping openly, but these weren't the tears of rage I'd seen. At the party, they were the gray, hopeless tears of complete and utter defeat. My father, Marcus, just stared at the polished granite table. He looked at my mother, this woman he had enabled and appeased his entire life. He looked at Jamal, his golden boy son, who was now glaring at me with pure, impotent hatred. He saw the future he had created for himself. He looked back at me. I hadn't moved. My expression was blank. There is one more thing, I said, my voice cutting through my mother's sobs. I reached into my briefcase, the one they'd never seen, and pulled out another document. This is a legal agreement. It's a severance, a contract. What? What is it? My father asked, his voice a dry rasp. It states, I said, that I will provide the apartment and the stipend contingent on one thing. You never contact me again, ever. No calls, no emails, no showing up at my office or my home. If I hear one word from any of you, a request for more money, a complaint, an insult, the stipend stops, the lease is not renewed, everything ends. Do I make myself clear? I pushed the document and a single expensive pen across the table. My father didn't read it. He didn't have to. He knew he had no other cards to play. He picked up the pen, his hand shaking so badly he could barely hold it, and signed his name on the line. He then pushed it to my mother. She stared at it, her tears spotting the ink before she scribbled her signature. Jamal looked at the paper, then at me. So that's it. You're just erasing us. You were the one holding the eraser, Jamal, I said. I'm just cleaning the board. I stood up and gathered my things. My meeting is over. Maria at the front desk will validate your parking. They stood up like zombies. My father slowly reached out and took the single apartment key from the table. As they filed out of the conference room, my mother and father looking like ghosts. Jamal walked past me. He turned his body deliberately and slammed his shoulder into mine. A last pathetic act of physical intimidation. I didn't even flinch. I just stood there, solid as a rock. I watched him rub his own shoulder as he followed his parents out a failed prince, leaving a castle that was never his. The door clicked shut, and I was finally alone. 6 months later, the Atlanta air felt different, cleaner. I was standing on the balcony of my penthouse, a glass of wine in my hand, watching the sunset paint the skyline. Well, Aunt Amani said, coming up beside me and handing me a small appetizer. Look at you, queen of all you survey. It's just a view, Auntie. It's more than a view, baby. It's perspective. She took a sip of her own wine. I ran into your father last week. My smile tightened. Oh, how is he? He's different, she said, choosing her words carefully. He's working part-time at the Home Depot over on Piedmont in the garden section. He actually looked calmer, said the physical labor was good for him. And Mom? I asked, my voice neutral. Auntie chuckled. Your mother Sharon is learning what the real world feels like. She's a receptionist at a dental office. Has to get her own coffee and everything. The horror. I couldn't help but laugh. And Jamal and Ashley? Oh, them, Aunt Amani said, waving her hand dismissively. Last I heard, they moved in with Ashley's parents. Apparently, her mom and dad aren't as impressed with Jamal's vision as our family was. They're making him take out the trash. I shook my head. A strange, distant pity replacing the anger I used to feel. They had made their choices, and now they were living with them. And you? Aunt Amani said, turning to me, her eyes full of pride. I heard about the Thomas Wilson Scholarship Fund, helping kids get into data science. Your grandfather would be so proud, Kesha. You used his legacy to build a new one. It felt like the right thing to do, I said. My phone buzzed on the patio table. A text from Michael, the architect I'd been seeing. He was interested in my brain, not my bank account. He seems like a good one, Auntie Amani said. He is, I said. I thought about the rage I'd felt at that party, the terror of being abandoned, the cold finality of that last confrontation. My mother's shriek, "Get out and never come back." I took a final sip of wine. It tasted like freedom. You know, Auntie, I said, for 32 years, I did everything I could to make them see me, and they refused. Mom screaming at me to get out, forcing my hand. It was the best thing she ever did for me.